here, we do not share the same attitude to our students.
Bells ringing, 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 and receiving.
The complaint as to the scarcity of bodies for dissection is as old as the history of anatomy itself. Post-mortem dissection was looked upon as a great indignity by the relatives of the deceased, and every precaution was taken to prevent its occurrence.
The ancient teachers of science promised impossibilities and performed nothing. The modern masters promise very little and therefore risk very little on what they promise.
Before the Corporation of Surgeons will produce your certificate of a knowledge of anatomy, they will insist on your having attended at least 6 courses of dissection.
Men of modern science know that the elixir of life is a chimera, but these philosophers, whose hands seem only made to dabble in dirt, have indeed performed miracles.
It should be unnecessary to point out that if you are going to go out into the world as surgeons, if you're going to have the lives of your fellow men in your hands, if you are to be so bold as to seek the solution that which produces illness, these courses of dissection are essential.
They penetrate into the recesses of nature. They show how she works in her hiding places. They have acquired new and almost unlimited power. They can command the thunders of heaven, mimic the earthquake, and even mock the invisible world with its own shadow.
Here, the necessities of post-mortem dissection are not evaded. We do not put undue heed to powders and herbalism. We do not practice medicine with pentagrams on the witch's Sabbath. If your physician has an Arab strap hanging in his offices, you do better and suffer less to drink the hemlock straight up.
The alchemists of old, to whose indefatigable zeal modern philosophers were indebted for most of the foundations of their knowledge, had left to us an easier task, to give names to the facts which they had been the instruments of bringing to light. The labors of men of genius, however erroneously directed, scarcely ever fail in turning to the solid advantage of mankind.
When bodies are obtained for dissection, it may be by surreptitious means. Students may have to exhume their own subjects. Beware the temptation of the newly made grave. Whereas the aim of your endeavor is the service of your fellow man will not thank you if your skill was obtained while dissecting his sibling's child.
If your application and your ability endure, then I have no doubt of your success. Chemistry is that branch of natural philosophy in which the greatest improvements have been and may be made. It is on that account that I have made it my peculiar study. A man would make but a very sorry chemist if he attended that department of human knowledge alone. If your wishes become really a man of science and not merely a petty experimentalist, I should advise you to apply to every branch of natural philosophy, mathematics, etc. Remember that this is our age, the modern age. But I would hesitate in telling you to disregard the studies of old.
Your purpose is to keep your fellow man out of the graveyard, where you too should spend little time. I strongly suggest that you find persons other than yourself to obtain your materials. Ask no questions. Heed no lies.
Then the school bell again. Ding, 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 ding. And then there'll be enough light, there'll be a light change so that you guys can